The bass from the club speakers vibrated in my teeth, a constant thump, thump, thump that I felt more than heard. It was the heartbeat of the Gilded Cage, a place that was exactly what it sounded like: flashy, expensive, and a trap. My name is Tessa, and my trap was a mountain of medical debt my mom had left behind. That, plus trying to save for community college, meant my waitressing job at the diner wasn't cutting it. So 3 nights a week, I put on a sparkly, tiny outfit that wasn't me, tied my hair up, and became Ruby, a dancer at the Gilded Cage. I wasn't a great dancer. I was mostly just good at avoiding the overly friendly hands and smiling until my cheeks ached. Tonight was a slow Tuesday, which was almost worse than a busy Saturday. The customers were fewer, but they were the serious, brooding types, the ones who stared like they were trying to solve a math problem. I finished my set on the small side stage, my ankles already sore in these 6-inch heels. I grabbed a towel, wiped the glittery sweat from my forehead, and headed for the dressing room, keeping my eyes down. Ruby. The voice was low and smooth, not the usual drunken slur. It came from booth 7, the most expensive VIP booth, hidden away in a velvet-draped corner. I paused. We weren't supposed to approach the VIPs unless they called a waitress or one of the premium girls. I was definitely not premium. I looked over. The man in the booth was alone. He wasn't the usual type. He wore a simple, dark gray suit, no flashy watch, no gold chains. He looked bored and handsome in a way that made me nervous. He had dark, slightly messy hair and tired eyes that were looking right at me. Me? I mouthed, pointing at myself. He nodded, just once. I glanced at James, the bouncer, who was busy watching the game on the TV over the bar. Taking a deep breath, I walked over, my heels sinking into the plush carpet. "Can I get you something, sir?" I asked, using my Ruby voice, which was a little breathier than my real one. He looked at me for a long moment, his gaze so intense I felt like he could see the Tessa underneath the Ruby. "I have a strange proposal for you," he said. His voice was quiet, and I had to lean in closer, the smell of expensive cologne and something clean like soap hitting me. "A proposal?" I braced myself. Here it came, the weird request, the "my wife doesn't understand me" speech. "I will give you $5,000. He tapped a slim black credit card on the table. "For 1 hour of your time." My brain stalled. One hour? I stammered. "For what? Sir, I think you want one of the other girls. I just dance. I don't want you to do anything," he interrupted, though not unkindly. "I want you to sit here in this booth and talk to me. Just talk, like a normal person." I stared at him. This had to be a joke. A very cruel, very weird joke. "You want me to pay you $5,000 to talk?" Yes. He didn't smile. He just looked at me with those tired eyes. "I've had a terrible day. I'm surrounded by people who want something from me, who talk at me, who agree with everything I say. I'm sick of it. I looked at you on stage. You looked as tired of this place as I am of my life." I blinked. He wasn't wrong. "So, here's the deal," he continued, leaning back. 1 hour, you sit, we talk. You tell me about, I don't know, your day, your favorite movie, the worst customer you've ever had, anything that isn't about stock prices or board meetings. At the end of the hour, I'll have the cash brought to the table. You take it and leave. No strings, no funny business. I give you my word. $5,000. $5,000 would pay off the last of the hospital bills. It would be my entire first semester of college, with enough left over for books. It was a lifeline. But it was also insane. Why me? I asked. My voice was barely a whisper. Because, he said, a small, sad smile touching his lips for the first time. You looked real. Everyone else here is putting on a show. I know you are too, but you look like you haven't perfected it yet. Your smile kept slipping. He was right. My cheeks were aching from the effort. I looked around. The club was dark, but this booth was visible enough. James was still by the bar. I wasn't in danger. Not really. It was just talking. Okay, I said, my heart hammering. Okay, 1 hour. Just talking. Here. Here, he agreed. He gestured to the plush seat opposite him. I slid in, my bare legs sticking to the velvet. It felt like I had just stepped into a different world. Up close, his suit was definitely expensive, perfectly tailored. He looked like he belonged on the cover of a magazine, not in a sticky-floored stripper club. My name is Alex. He held out his hand. I hesitated, then took it. His grip was warm and firm. Ruby, I lied. He nodded, letting my hand go. Well, Ruby, tell me something real. And so I did. I don't know why, but I didn't even bother with small talk. Maybe it was the strangeness of it all. Maybe it was the $5,000. I'm terrified of heights. Like, I can't even stand on a chair to change a light bulb without my knees knocking. He raised an eyebrow, a genuine spark of amusement in his eyes. Heights? Really? Yeah, it's stupid. My brother used to hold me upside down by my ankles when I was a kid, and I've never gotten over it. I have a brother. He once convinced me to eat a worm for $1. I did it. He never paid me. I laughed. A real, actual laugh. It felt weird in this place. You ate a worm? I was 7, he protested, smiling back, and it was a very small worm. The conversation just flowed. It was the strangest hour of my life. I told him about my diner job, about the old lady, Mrs. Petrov, who came in every day and ordered a grilled cheese, extra pickles, and always left me a single shiny quarter for a tip. I told him about my dream of being a graphic designer, of making art that wasn't just glitter on a stage. He listened. He really listened. He asked questions. He didn't just wait for his turn to talk. He told me about his day. It was vague, but I got the picture. A meeting that went bad, a multi-billion-dollar merger that was falling apart. He talked about the pressure of having hundreds of people's jobs depending on his decisions. He sounded so lonely it made my test ache. You know what the worst part is? He said, staring into his glass of water. He wasn't even drinking. I can't tell if anyone actually likes me or if they just like what I can do for them. My friends are business partners. The women I date, they look at me like I'm a walking bank vault. That sounds awful, I said, and I meant it. I was poor, I was stressed, and I was dancing in a cage. But at least I knew my best friend, Sarah, liked me for me. She was the one who would bring me pizza at 2 a.m. after a bad shift. It's isolating, he admitted. We talked about movies. He loved old black and white mysteries. I loved big, dumb 1950s movies. We talked about food. He'd eaten at the fanciest restaurants in the world, but admitted his favorite food was a simple cheeseburger from a specific New York food truck. I felt myself relaxing. I wasn't Ruby anymore. I was just Tessa, sitting in a booth talking to a guy named Alex who happened to have a very sad, very rich life. Then his phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it and the tired, stressed look came back. He sighed, rubbing his temples. The hour's up. I felt a weird pang of disappointment. It was, he said, looking at me, genuinely the best part of my week. Thank you, Ruby. It's Tessa, I said without thinking. My name is Tessa. He smiled. A real warm smile this time. It completely changed his face, chasing the shadows from his eyes. Tessa. I like that better. He made a small gesture to someone I couldn't see. A moment later, a different large man in a suit, not James, appeared on the table. He slid a thick white envelope onto the table and disappeared. For you, Alex said. I looked at the envelope. My stomach did a flip-flop. Wow, thank you. No, thank you, he said. He stood up as I slid out of the booth. He was tall. I meant what I said. You were a bright spot in a very long day. I clutched the envelope. Well, good luck with your merger. Thanks, I'll need it. He hesitated, as if he wanted to say something else, but he just nodded. Good night, Tessa. Good night, Alex. I walked away, my legs feeling shaky for a different reason. I went straight to the dressing room, my heart pounding so hard I was sure the other girls could hear it. I locked myself in a bathroom stall and tore open the envelope. Inside were 50 crisp, new $100 bills. $5,000. He was real. It was real. I leaned my head against the cold metal of the stall and cried. I paid off the debt the very next day. The relief was so huge it felt like I had been holding my breath for a year and could finally let it out. I walked out of the collections office feeling 10 pounds lighter. That night, I called my manager at the Gilded Cage and told him I was quitting. I had enough money saved from the diner, plus this gift, to finally enroll in 2 classes at the community college. Life went back to a new kind of normal. I worked at the diner, I went to my intro to design class, and I did my homework. But I couldn't get Alex out of my head. I kept replaying our conversation, his sad eyes, his real smile, the way he actually listened to me. It was crazy. He was a billionaire. I was a waitress. Our worlds weren't just different, they were in different universes. But as I was leaving the dressing room that night, I found something else in the pocket of my jeans. A simple, elegant business card. It just said, Alex Walker, and a phone number. No company name. Nothing else. I had stared at that card every night for a week. Just text him, Sarah said, exasperated as she stole a French fry from my plate at the diner. What's the worst that can happen? He doesn't answer? The worst that can happen, Sarah, is that he does answer, and I find out he's just some weirdo rich guy who gets his kicks by talking to poor girls in clubs, or he thinks I'm calling to ask for more money, or, she interrupted, or he's a nice, lonely, super hot billionaire who actually liked talking to you. You're overthinking this. You said you had a real conversation. You said you liked talking to him. So just text thank you. She was right. What was the harm? My fingers were trembling as I typed out the message that night. Hi, Alex. It's Tessa from the other night. Ruby. I just wanted to say thank you again. You have no idea how much that helped me. I hope your merger went well. I hit send before I could chicken out. I threw my phone on my bed and stared at the ceiling, my heart trying to escape my chest. 5 minutes later, it buzzed. Tessa. I'm so glad you texted. The merger was a disaster, but I'm still standing, and I was hoping you'd reach out. My stomach did a little flip. I'm sorry to hear that, I typed back. It's part of the job, but it made me realize I need more real conversations in my life. I know this is forward, but would you be willing to have another one? Over coffee this time? My treat. And I promise, no envelopes involved. Coffee. In the daylight, like normal people. My fear and my excitement had a tiny war in my stomach. Excitement won. I'd like that. We met at a small, independent coffee shop halfway between my apartment and downtown. I wore my nicest jeans and a blue sweater. I was 10 minutes early, and I spent the whole time shredding a napkin in my lap. He walked in, and my breath caught. In the daylight, he was even more striking. He wore a simple dark green sweater and jeans that probably cost more than my car. But he looked normal. Just a guy. A very, very handsome guy. He saw me and his face lit up with that same warm smile. Tessa, hi. Hi, Alex. You look different outside the club, he said, sitting down. So do you, I said, and he laughed. Fair point. At the club, I'm Mr. Walker, the client. Here, I'm just Alex, the guy who really needs a caffeine fix. What can I get you? We stood in line, and it was so normal. We bickered over whether caramel lattes were real coffee. I said yes. He was a black coffee purist. He paid, and we found a small table by the window. So, I said, stirring my drink. Intro to design. I started last week. That's amazing, he said, his eyes bright. Tell me about it. And just like in the club, we talked. But this was better. There was no 6-inch heel barrier, no thumping bass, no expectation of a show. We talked for 2 hours. I told him about my professor, a cranky old man who still used software from 1995. He told me about his company, how he'd built it from scratch with a friend in their college dorm room, and how it had grown into this giant thing that he wasn't sure he knew how to control anymore. He was smart and funny in a dry, sarcastic way. And when he looked at me, I felt seen. It wasn't the way men at the club looked at me like I was a piece of meat. It wasn't the way the diner customers looked at me like I was just a pair of hands to bring them food. He looked at me like I was Tessa. I have to be honest, he said, as we were finishing our drinks. When I made that offer at the club, it was desperate. I was at rock bottom that day. I just needed to connect with someone who wasn't in my world. I never expected... Expected what? I asked softly. To meet someone like you, he said, his gaze locked on mine. You're refreshing, Tessa. You're smart and you're funny, and you don't seem to care that my suit costs more than your car. Oh, I care, I joked. I'm just trying not to spill my too sweet latte on your too expensive pants. He laughed, a full, relaxed sound that made me smile. I'd really like to see you again, he said, his voice suddenly serious. Outside of a coffee shop. Maybe dinner. A real date. A real date. My heart did a leap. Yes, I'd like that too. Our real date was a week later, and it was a disaster. Well, not a total disaster, but it was a clear sign that our worlds were not built to mix. He picked me up in a sleek black car that looked like it belonged to Batman. The driver, a kind man named Thomas, opened the door for me. I felt like I was in a movie. Alex was waiting for me at a restaurant called L'Étoile. There was no sign, just a single discreet gold star on a heavy wooden door. Inside, it was silent. People were whispering. The carpet was so thick, it felt like walking on clouds. Everyone was in suits or fancy dresses. I was in my one good black dress, which I'd bought at a thrift store. I felt like a stray dog that had wandered into a palace. You look beautiful, Alex whispered, kissing my cheek as he pulled out my chair. I feel underdressed, I whispered back, Looking at a woman nearby who had so many diamonds on her neck, it was a miracle she could hold her head up. "You look perfect," he said, his eyes warm. "They all look like they're trying too hard. You just look real." But the feeling didn't go away. The menu had no prices. The waiter looked at me like I was something he found on his shoe. I didn't recognize half the words on the menu. "Just trust me?" he asked gently, seeing my panic. I nodded, and he ordered for both of us in perfect French. The food was weird. Tiny portions on giant plates. There was foam. I'm not sure what the foam was. But Alex, to his credit, tried. He saw how uncomfortable I was. "Okay, confession time," he said, leaning in. "The last time I was here, I was with a big investor. I was so nervous, I knocked an entire glass of red wine into his wife's lap. She was wearing white silk." "No!" I gasped, covering my mouth. Yes, she looked at me like I had personally murdered her puppy. I spent the rest of the night apologizing. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason I closed the deal. She felt sorry for me. I giggled, and the couple at the next table glared at me. I didn't care. Alex was making me feel better. We talked, we laughed, we ignored the stuffy atmosphere. He told me about his struggles, and I told him about mine. By the end of the night, when he was walking me to my apartment door, I felt that connection again, stronger this time. "So," I said, shuffling my feet, "apart from the foam and the glares, that was nice." "I'm sorry," he said, looking chagrined. "I'm an idiot. I was trying to impress you and I just made you uncomfortable. That's my world and it's not always great. Next time you pick the place." "Okay," I said, smiling. "Next time it's Greasy Spoon Burgers, my treat. It's a date." He was standing close. The streetlight cast a warm glow on his face. He leaned in, slowly, giving me time to back away. I didn't. His lips were soft, the kiss was gentle and hesitant, and perfect. It wasn't a billionaire kissing a girl from the club. It was just Alex kissing Tessa, and it was amazing. "Good night, Tessa," he breathed, his forehead resting against mine. "Good night, Alex." I floated into my apartment, my fingers touching my lips. I was in so much trouble. I was falling for him. The next few weeks were a blur. We saw each other almost every day. We went for burgers, and I paid, just like I said I would. He didn't even blink at the greasy table. We went for walks in the park. We watched movies at my tiny apartment, sharing a bowl of popcorn on my lumpy couch. And we went to his world. He had a penthouse apartment that was bigger than my entire apartment building, with windows that looked out over the whole city. It was beautiful, but it felt cold, empty. "I don't spend much time here," he said when I commented on it. "It's mostly just a place to sleep." He was opening up to me. He told me about his parents, who were more interested in his stock portfolio than his happiness. He told me about his ex-girlfriend, who had been with him for his money and had tried to sue him when he broke it off. I was falling deeper. It wasn't about his money. I forgot about that most of the time. It was about him, his kindness, his secret dorky side. He had a collection of vintage Star Wars figures. The way he'd rub the back of his neck when he was stressed. The way his eyes crinkled when he really smiled. But my past, our beginning, hung over me like a shadow. I still hadn't told Sarah the full story. And I definitely hadn't told Alex that Ruby was a dancer, not a waitress. He just thought I worked at a seedy nightclub. I was too ashamed. The real world came crashing in, as it always does. Alex had a charity gala, a big one. It's for the children's hospital. It's really important to me. And I want you to come with me as my date. "Alex? I I looked down at my paint-stained sweatpants. A gala? Like with fancy dresses and diamonds? I'll take care of everything, he said, taking my hands. I want you there. I want to show you off. I want everyone to meet the woman I'm falling for. He said it, falling for. My heart just stopped. I'm falling for you too, Alex. The kiss that followed was not gentle. It was full of all the feelings we've been holding back. 2 days later, a woman with a chic black bob and a measuring tape showed up at my door. Mr. Walker sent me. An hour later, I was being measured for a custom dress. The night of the gala, I felt like Cinderella. The dress was a deep midnight blue silk. It was simple, elegant, and fit me perfectly. Alex had sent a hairstylist and a makeup artist. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see Tessa, the tired waitress. I saw someone else. Someone beautiful. Alex's jaw dropped when he saw me. He was in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, looking like James Bond's younger brother. Tessa, he breathed, taking my hand. You are breathtaking. The gala was at a huge museum. Chandeliers dripped from the ceiling, a full orchestra was playing, and it was full of the same people from the restaurant, only more of them. But this time, with Alex's hand in mind, I felt braver. He introduced me to people, his eyes shining with pride. He'd say, "This is Tessa. She's an incredibly talented artist." It was going perfectly until I went to the ladies' room. As I was washing my hands, 2 women in glittering gowns walked in, chatting. "Can't believe Alex Walker brought her," one of them said, touching up her lipstick. "I know, right? My cousin's husband's company does his private security. He said Alex literally picked her up at a stripper club, the Gilded Cage, paid for her time." No! How tacky. She's just a gold-digging tramp. She's good, I'll give her that. She's got him fooled, playing the sweet, innocent girl. He's so desperate for real, he can't see he's being played. The blood drained from my face. I felt cold. My hands were shaking. They hadn't seen me. I stayed in the stall, my heart pounding, until they left. Stripper, gold digger, tramp. He's being played. Their words echoed in my head. They were right. Well, not about the gold digging part, but about the rest. I was a stripper. I had taken his money. What was I doing here? I was a fraud in a borrowed dress, pretending to be something I wasn't. I couldn't breathe. I stumbled out of the bathroom and headed for the exit. I couldn't do this. I couldn't let him be played by me. I couldn't stand there and let everyone whisper about the stripper he brought to the ball. He deserved better. "Tessa!" Alex's voice. I froze, my hand on the heavy door. I turned around. He was rushing towards me, his face tight with worry. "Tessa, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." I couldn't hold it in. The tears started. "They know, Alex. Everyone knows." "Know what? What are you talking about?" "Where we met, how we met. They're all saying I'm a stripper you paid for. That I'm a gold digger. That I'm playing you." His face hardened. Who? Who said that? "It doesn't matter. It's true, isn't it?" I sobbed, the shame washing over me. "I didn't tell you. I wasn't a waitress at the club. I was a dancer. I was Ruby. I took your money? I'm exactly what they say I am." I tried to pull my hand away, but he held on tight. He gripped my arms, forcing me to look at him. "Tessa, look at me." His eyes were burning. "Do you think I care? Do you really think I'm that shallow?" "But Alex, your reputation, your friends." "My friends," he scoffed. "You mean those sharks in tuxedos?" "Tessa, I told you from the beginning. I was looking for someone real. I found you. You were working a job you hated to pay off your mom's medical bills and put yourself through school. You're the strongest, most honest, most real person in this entire building. I don't give a damn what your job was. But I lied. I let you believe I was just a waitress. You were ashamed, he said, his voice softening. I get it. It's not an easy world, mine or yours. But I'm not ashamed. I'm proud of you. He took my hand. Come on. What? Where? We're not leaving. We're not going to let them win. He led me back into the center of the ballroom. He stepped up to the small stage where the orchestra leader was. He tapped the microphone. A high-pitched squeal echoed through the room, and everyone fell silent, turning to look. Alex, what's going on? A man at the front table asked. Excuse me, everyone, Alex said, his voice clear and strong. I'd like to make a small announcement. I wanted to die. I was standing next to him, and every eye in the room was on us. Many of you, he said, his gaze sweeping the room, have met the wonderful woman by my side tonight. Tessa. I am, completely and hopelessly in love with her. A gasp went through the crowd. I stared at him, my heart stopping. In love? I also know, he continued, that there are whispers going around tonight. Rumors about how we met. So I'd like to clear the air. We met at a place called the Gilded Cage. I was there on the worst night of my life, feeling completely alone. And I saw her. And I did something crazy. I offered her $5,000 to just talk to me for an hour. The whispering was frantic now. The two women from the bathroom looked horrified. And she said yes. And for 1 hour, this incredible woman, who was working 2 jobs to pay off debts and save for college, was the only person who was real with me. She didn't want anything from me. She just talked to me. She was kind and funny and smart. And yes, I fell for her. I fell for her honesty. I fell for her spirit. She saved me that night in more ways than she'll ever know. He turned to me, his eyes shining. So yes, I paid for her time, and it was the best money I have ever spent. If any of you have a problem with that, if any of you think less of her or me for it, then frankly, you're not the kind of people I want in my life. He looked back at the crowd. Thank you. Please enjoy your night. He set the mic down, took my hand, and led me off the stage. The silence was deafening. Then, from the back, someone started to clap. It was Thomas, his driver, standing by the door. Then an old man at the front table stood up and clapped. Then another. The 2 women who had been gossiping were bright red. Alex didn't look at any of them. He only looked at me. You love me? I whispered, my eyes full of tears again. More than anything, he said, wiping a tear from my cheek. I love you, Tessa. All of you. The dancer, the student, the artist, the girl who loves caramel lattes. All of it. I love you too, Alex, I cried, and I threw my arms around his neck right there in the middle of the museum, and I kissed him. I didn't care who was watching. We left the gala hand in hand. We didn't need their approval. We didn't need anything but each other. That was a year ago. I'm in my 2nd year of college now, at the 4-year university I had always dreamed of. Alex helped, but he did it as a partner, setting up a student loan that I pay back to him with interest, which usually means I have to make him my special recipe pancakes. We lived together, but not in the giant, cold penthouse. We found a smaller place. Still nice, but it feels like a home. It's filled with my art, his Star Wars figures, and a lumpy couch that we both love. It's not always easy. His world is still crazy, and my family is still, well, my family. The papers still sometimes call me his Cinderella or that girl from the club. But we don't care. When we're home, he's not a billionaire, and I'm not a former stripper. He's just Alex, the guy who eats worms for $1. And I'm just Tessa, the girl who's afraid of heights. I never, ever expected to fall for him. But I did. And falling for him was the least expected, most wonderful thing that has ever happened to me. It all started with a ridiculous offer in a seedy club, but it turned into something real. Dear viewers, what do you think about this story? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and share it with friends. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks, and see you in the next video. Bye!